All right, we're going to do pull-through anchors, and it doesn't really have much application in like fire rescue. So I'm going to take my fire hat off, put my ski patrol jacket on. And so pull-through anchors are going to be more like when you need to access the haul cables on a chairlift. And under what circumstances do we need to do that? Well, if we have a guest who's clinging or hanging from a chair, we need to get up there quick. Or if we want to place people in the chair for like training purposes. Or at least at our resort, we have lifts that don't have platforms that you can stand on. So if you have to do some sort of cable riding from those types of lifts where you can't access just by climbing a ladder, you're going to need to access the cables another way, and this is how you do it. You ascend a rope system. It's always going to be a 2-rope system. Sorry, that's the way it works. We aren't recreating. It's not canyoneering or rock climbing. So primary and a backup, always on a 2-rope system, and that's an OSHA thing. So when you're working at the resorts, that's what you have to do. This right here is our simulated like cable or haul cable for like a basic chairlift. How you get your pilot line is outside the scope of this video. So we have our pilot line that we launch up and over. So as it comes up and over and back down to the ground, I want to send a bight of rope up, or 2 ropes depending. So how much rope do you need to make this work? You're going to need at least 4 times the length of the height. So whatever height that is to the cable, you need 4 times the length of rope. Depending on how you route this, it kind of affects where I want to flake my ropes out. So since I routed my pilot line up from this side over to this side, I want to feed and lay my rope out away, and preferably having like tailors kind of help. Otherwise, this is going to get really twisted. So right here, I'm just going to clip a bight in. So this is the midpoint of my rope, and this is my pilot line that I sent over. So let's come down here. And let's take a look at how we laid out the rope on the ground. So the rope is away from the cable, and it's also separated from itself, so that when we actually hoist this rope up, it helps to keep it from wanting to twist on itself. And that's important, because if you have this stuff up close, it's going to want to twist, especially if it's windy. So that's once over this way with the pilot line. Now we go back over with the bight, and this bight is basically simulating like 2 ropes. So the bight comes back over, and notice how our ropes are separated, they're away, and they're away from each other as well. So there's no twisting anywhere here. And so as my bight comes back down to the ground, instead of cutting this, like I'm treating these as 2 separate ropes. So I'm going to do 2 butterfly knots. And 2. Shall I go this way to prevent any twists? Okay. And there's a best way, an okay way, and like a really crappy way that you want to avoid when doing this. I'm just going to clip this back in because I want to keep my pilot line here. I'd rather like keep this here, and so I always have the ability to make adjustments. So I have butterflies. So with these butterflies, we want to protect our ropes over the haul cable. So we protect our ropes by putting wire strops on them. And it doesn't matter which side you put in. These can be carabiners. I just happen to have these nice screw links that are low profile, but carabiners will work too. Again, if it's OSHA, they should be auto locking carabiners, not screw locking carabiners, but we understand. A lot of resorts, a lot of fire departments, we have screw locking carabiners, so whatever. Here, there are a couple things you can do. So, I'm gonna start with what not to do, just so you can see it. Okay. These wire strops are gonna link back in to their respective lines. So here I'm gonna do it with a large pair carabiner. So can you see that? Okay. Okay, and now we pull and we get this back up and over. And if you look up, as we pull up, we wrap back over, and then the anchor sets itself right there. Now, zoom in on here, on this. These are kind of like beaner blocks if you're like for the recreational climber, canyoneer, beaner blocks, but look how big my carabiner is compared to the knot. and that knot wants to slip through, and sometimes this can keep on going. I kind of don't want that, and I'll show you why when I don't do it with wire strops, but I'm gonna bring this back down. And instead of these big carabiners, I'm gonna do one with a pulley, and then one with just the quick link or the screw link itself. So one side has a pulley, just to show you the options. The other side, a nice small screw link. I want the block, and this like the beaner block in this case, I want the connector to have to be smaller in space than the actual knot itself. So this time when I haul up, okay, so these are my two static lines. So right here and here are my static lines. Look at how small the profile is here, and now it doesn't want to go anywhere. Here, the same thing. If I didn't have a quick link, but I had a carabiner and a pulley, the space in there blocks adequately, and this will support a one-person weight on the side plates of that pulley. It's fine. So those are two options. This is the preferred way. Either this or that is the preferred way to do this with the wire strops, because I want to protect my ropes. If I didn't have wire strops, second way to do this when you don't have wire strops, you can still kind of get away with it. It's just less ideal. You're not really protecting the ropes over the haul cable, but it's doable still. I have my pilot line, I hook in a bight of the rope, I bring it back over, and now that I have my rope, and I treat this rope as two separate pieces. So here, I'm gonna get rid of the pilot line just for a second. Bear with me, and let's assume that I cut this with scissors and I have two separate ropes. And now I'm gonna do another butterfly for each of those ropes. And the distance between the butterflies should be enough so that it'll clear that whatever the object is, in this case the haul cable. So the haul cable is gonna be right in there, the butterfly's gonna wrap around it. So one for that side and then one for this side. Going to be this that comes up first, right here. And so as this comes up and over, it needs to block against whatever's here. And again, I prefer like a quick link, something that's really small that'll resist passing or letting a knot that is, I don't know, 3/8 inch rope or 7/16 are the most common ones. Quick links are preferred, but if I don't have that, I can do a carabiner. It doesn't matter which size now, as long as I have a pulley on the carabiner into the opposing strand. This is kind of like, when in doubt, use a carabiner or pulley, otherwise use a quick link. But don't use a carabiner on its own because there's no guarantee that the opening is gonna be small enough to constrict that knot. So that's one side here, and then I have to do another side here. So, and then this time when I pull up, back over, you can see the knots hit the haul cable. I pop the knots over and they block. And now I have two lines, two static lines, one to ascend, the other is my backup, like a mobile fall rest on the A-stop. So this is like the less preferred way to do it, but it's still a way that makes sense. You can get away with that. You're just not protecting your ropes as much when you forgo like a wire strop, like an anchor strap with wire. So we did best, okay, which is this. Now we're gonna do something that you should never do. So we're gonna do, I'll show you what not to do. Don't ever do this. All right, let's de-rig this. This time, what we're gonna do is just get rid of one of the knots altogether. So we'll back out. And this time, when we haul up, all we do is put the carabiner into the butterfly and then back on the line. And then when we haul up, this is what happens. Okay, we don't want that. Carabiners were not designed to be side loaded like this. That's a no-go, so don't ever do this. This is bad. Will it fail? I don't know, but it's just very bad form. It's called side loading. Most ropes that you're going to be working with probably at ski resorts, I'd say they're probably 200 feet minimum. Most rescue ropes are 200 feet or 300 feet. Whatever height you need to access your cable, let's just say that, you know, at best you can do is like a 50 foot. If your cable is greater than 50 foot, you're going to need longer than 200 feet of rope. I don't have to use the bight, the midpoint of a single rope. I just need 2 ropes, and then I can tie them together and do the same thing, as opposed to just hauling up a bight. So I can double that. So I can go 100 feet if I wanted to. Just know that if you're going to do a single rope, you need that rope length to be 4 times the height. You want to dual purpose it out.